Hello, my lovelies, and welcome to the Spirit Tarot and Healing Arts YouTube channel. If you are new, welcome back. If you are a returning viewer, I'm Rin, and today we are taking a look at the Blue Bird Lenormand. Now, this is the first Lenormand deck I've ever owned. It's the first Lenormand deck I ever read with, and of the Lenormand decks in my collection, it is the one that has been around the longest. Now, I did not start reading Lenormand until about 2018, I want to say, give or take. It was around 2018. But this deck, they began publishing this deck in 1970. So this deck is actually like not this physical copy, but this deck in concept and publishing has been around longer than I have, which is saying something. I have very few decks in my collection that, whether they are actually physically, like the physical copy is vintage, or just that deck has been printed for a lot of years. This is one of the few decks that is actually older than me. And I think this is a great deck to start with. Now, unfortunately, it does come in just a little tuck box. I hate tuck boxes. Where I store this, it does okay, but I really should get something sturdier, something better to store this deck in, honestly. But I do recommend this as a beginner deck, and you will see why when we flip through the deck. But it does come with this little white book, which is not super helpful. It does kind of give you a crash course on how to do a grand tableau, and it gives you a good base meaning for each of the cards. However, I don't know how much you need that, because one of the things that I like about this deck, and one of the things that I feel makes it good for beginners, is that on the cards you'll see in the upper right hand corner that they have a basic or a base meaning for the card. Now, it doesn't take into consideration combinations, and if you read Lenormand, then I don't have to tell you card combinations are essential in reading Lenormand, because you rarely ever in Lenormand read a card on its own. You are almost always reading cards in pairs or triplets. Now, I know there are some people that do read singular cards, and some people that read Lenormand with a bit of a different style, and that is perfectly okay. But traditional Lenormand reading, cards are read in at least pairs, if not triplets. So it doesn't give you the card combination meanings, what the cards mean together, but you can look at the base meaning of each card and then work it out from there. Lenormand does take a bit of skill. It is different from tarot. It is I want to say entirely different from tarot, honestly, because where tarot can be very metaphorical and esoteric, Lenormand is very literal. I've heard it said that tarot is like the normal end of a hammer, and then Lenormand is like the blunt, the claw end. I messed that up. Tarot is like the blunt end of the hammer, and Lenormand is like the claw end of the hammer. Lenormand very much does not care about your feelings, and if you're not familiar with Lenormand, there are positive, negative, and neutral cards in a Lenormand deck. In fact, one of the things, if you really get into learning Lenormand, is you will learn that some of the cards are just considered negative. Now, you take into consideration what's around them as to how negative they're going to actually be for the querent and the querent situation, but there are cards that there's no arguing it. There are negative cards in Lenormand, and again, just like in life, you know, it's all how you deal with the challenging energies. It's all how you deal with the challenging cards. And this is turning into more of a Lenormand how-to than I wanted it to. But this is your basic 36 card Lenormand deck. I like it for beginners because it does have the insert of the meaning on there. It does not incorporate all meanings for the cards, and it doesn't necessarily incorporate more contemporary meanings of the cards, but consider this was published originally in the 70s, so we can't really expect it to reflect Lenormand in 2024 and beyond. This deck does have 2 extra cards because there are two options for each of the significator cards. One is a younger couple, one is an older couple. I have put the cards in order from 1 through 36 with the younger couple in the deck, and then at the very end of the deck you'll see the older couple. So I will be showing you all the cards, but I've saved the older couple for the end because you can decide whether you just have a set of significators that you just like to use all the time, or if you want to base your significators on the querent and or person of interest age. There's a lot that we can say about Lenormand significators. I've talked about that a little bit before in a video I have where I talked about a Do They Love Me spread using Lenormand or Kipper and how to queer those readings if you need to. All right, without any further ado, let's take a look at the deck. And that was our look at the Blue Bird Lenormand, the oldest Lenormand deck in my personal collection. I would love to get some older Lenormand decks. I really would love to do that. But it can be, there's more and more Lenormand decks on the market now in America, but it can be a little challenging to find Lenormand decks, especially good Lenormand decks. But like I said, I think this one's really great for beginners. As I have advanced in reading Lenormand, I don't find myself using this deck very often. Generally speaking, when I use it is if I am using houses in whatever spread I'm doing, then I will break this deck out to use for the houses because it does have that nice little title at the bottom of the cards, as you saw as we were flipping through. Um, yeah, see there how it has the nice title on every card, and so it's nice. I'll lay the cards that I'm actually reading on top of these ones, so that I have these to indicate the houses for the spread that I'm doing, and that's really what I use this deck for now. But This was my first Lenormand deck. I have done so many readings with this deck. It does have a special place in my heart since it is the first Lenormand deck I ever used. It's the deck I learned to read Lenormand with, and it just also, it's more of a, like I said, the physical copy that I have is new. The physical copy is not vintage, but in a manner of speaking, this is a vintage deck because it was originally published in the 1970s. So if you understand what I'm saying there, like my copy isn't vintage, but the concept, the idea of the deck itself is a vintage deck. So if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe because it helps me out so much. And let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. Do you love this deck? Do you hate it? Do you have it? Do you want to get it? Talk to me about this deck. What are your thoughts on it? And until I see you again, blessings to you wherever your journey finds you.